credentialed teachers?
I'm going to use my teacher voice. The teachers are a very important part of society. We need to grow them young, meaning that teachers, or schools, excuse me, I'm confused because this microphone's not working. When students, as they go to school, they go to career academies. And we have some career academies in Pensacola that they can offer services to our children. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. They offer career academies, and this gives children an opportunity
That's
to
better.
explore the career.
Use your microphone to see if it's working now.
Okay. Okay, I forget what I'm saying now. Okay, thank you. So this gives the children opportunities to explore the wonderful world of education. But as teachers, we have an opportunity to work with our students, but we need to work in our students in a safe environment. So therefore, we need to make sure that our children are not only safe, but they're in a position where they are disciplined. And discipline means to teach them how to behave, how to work together, and be respectful. So as I mentioned earlier, we have some common issues that we need to work on with discipline, and discipline is a big issue. So we want to make sure that it is very this one is a major issue in Pensacola schools. So we want to help teach our students and let them know that we expect great information. So when they're not working and they're not being disciplined and they're disrupting our classes, the teachers can't do what they're supposed to do. So we want to create an environment where teachers feel that they can do what they love doing.
All right, thank you. All right, and then Mr. Ranelli, you want to go next? Same question. Teacher and staff shortages are a pervasive problem in Florida's traditional public schools. What do you suggest for recruiting and retaining qualified credentialed teachers?
It's a great question, and one that every person in this room is excited to know the answer of. One of the things I'm proud of is that I filed to run for this race in February of 2023. That's over a year ago, and one of the things that allowed me to do is build friends, to listen to teachers, to talk with parents, and to really learn the environment. One of the friends that I've made is leader of student education, Janet Pilcher. She is a thought leader in this space, probably the best known person for this exact topic. And one of the things she says is know your data. Let's build a school system where teachers love to teach. It saddens me that we have teachers that are leaving the district or they're finding alternative careers. We should never have that here. We have a wonderful place to call home. So you have my commitment on 3 different levels. I will address pay wherever I can and every opportunity. Second, I will fund professional development wherever possible. And third, I'll develop subject matter experts with teachers on different issues, whether it be bullying, mental health, etc., and cross-train throughout the district. I think
Thank
those are
you.
3
Yeah,
topics.
time's up. I know I'm going to get to be the mean person. Say time's up.
Thank you.
All right, so then we'll move down to Mr. McCauley. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
All right, so you're next. So same question. So what do you suggest for recruiting and retaining qualified credentialed teachers?
First of all, this is an absolute national emergency just about because teachers are flocking from the profession, and most of the teachers that we have are 50 and north, not 25 and under. So I have 3 things that won't cost a whole lot of money. I put a lot of time and research into this, but with my remaining 45 seconds, I'm going to go fast. Number 1, stay interviews. This is when an assistant principal or principal meets with each individual teacher, probably in November-ish, to say, hey, how are things going? What can I do to better support you? And what are your personal needs? This is not a review of, hey, you're not doing this or that. This is, what can I do to help you? Number 2, tiered in-service. We cannot treat a 20-year veteran the same as we treat a second-year teacher. They need different things at different spots, and so we have to be able to address that. And one of the best gifts that we can give a teacher, again, free, is time. So instead of sending them to 37 meetings they don't need, we send them to one. Finally, micro-credentials. There's 213 different credentials offered by the NEA, and you can get those, and then the idea is that we would pay people to get better at something, whether that's a new grade book and they teach it to peers. But there's 3 ways, and so that's stay interviews, tiered in-service, micro-credentials. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and then our next candidate, Mr. Holt, how do you pronounce your name?
Holtz Connect.
Holz Connect. All right, you're next. Same question. So what do you suggest for recruiting and retaining qualified, credentialed teachers?
Well, number one, Governor DeSantis has done a good job rewarding new teachers. Starting salaries at $47,500, that's good. We got a problem with the veteran teachers because there's not a whole lot of difference between a veteran teacher salary and a starting teacher salary, and not a whole lot of incentive for them even to get graduate degrees. I think we need to take a look at our $800 million budget, do a zero-based scrub to see if there are any sacred cows that we can kill to give some incentives to teachers. And there are non-monetary incentives. You're right, our old time is a good one. Another one would be good leadership. We need the best and brightest administrators because we need team builders and leaders. We don't need people that are doing it for other reasons. If it's not about the kids and if it's not about team building, they can find something else to do. Yeah, so I'll stop with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now we're going to move on for our Escambia County District 5 candidate. So this question is going to be for you. So it says, what do you propose to improve and measure the academic outcomes for our traditional public school children, particularly those in so-called failing schools? So what do you propose to improve and measure the academic outcomes for our traditional public school children, particularly those in so-called failing schools? So we can start with Mr. Taylor. I think you're the first up.
Well, some of the things we have to do is make sure we identify these children correctly to start with. Then we've got to work hard to bring in outside resources, put the necessary resources in there to assist the teachers and the faculty in that school. We've got to involve our business community, and we have a great military community that can come in. We also can work with our AP students and our high school students that are in gifted programs to come out and mentor these children so that we can measure what they are doing in English, math, social studies, science. If we do that correctly, we will turn out a successful product, we will turn out a productive person, and our schools will be better, and our whole community will be better, and we must do that. These children deserve nothing but the best.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harrell, you're next. So same question. So what do you propose to improve and measure the academic outcomes for our traditional public school children, particularly those in so-called failing schools?
I have the experience that I've had the opportunity to work in a school that was underachieving. It was a double F and the state was going to take it over. We turned that school in 7 months. I developed the plan and implemented it, and we turned that school into a C school and took it off that list in that 7-month period. And these are some of the things we did. The first thing you have to do is gain the trust of the community. We rode those buses, went to those houses, knocked on doors, and when we got enough parents to say, we will help you, that was the first step in making a difference. They have to trust you, the parents do. The second step is you have to dig deeply into the data. We tested kids beginning, middle, and end of the year. We monitored their progress. We had teams for math, science, social studies, everything that was tested. We looked at those kids that were the lowest that we could get academic gains on. We looked at those that were on the bubble, and we looked at those that were at the top that needed assistance just to gain. What it takes is a lot of hard work. It takes a community effort. You've got to have business people to help you, but you've got to gain the trust of those parents to begin with.
All right, thank you. All right, and then Mr. Luther, same question for you. So what do you propose to improve and measure the academic outcomes for our traditional public school children, particularly those in so-called failing schools?
I propose that we get back to the foundations. When schools used to be about teaching kids how the tools of learning, equipping kids so they could pursue their own education. When you give kid a tool, for the kid to be excited about learning how to use that tool, the kid needs to have a vision. The kid's not going to appreciate you just dropping off a hammer and a saw. Now, if you tell the kid, we're going to build a tree fort, then the kid gets excited. Kids need a vision for which to use the tools of learning, for which education they're going to pursue. And I think we need to get back to the American foundation of Christianity, where we established public schools to teach children how to read the Bible so that they could combat the snares of the devil. And so yeah, something we can measure that would probably be really helpful would be the godliness of the teachers. And also be helpful if we let them, talk about their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and not fire them for praising Him.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go over to our Santa Rosa candidates now. So you guys, since I guess there's 3 of you, so you guys will be asked the same series of questions. So these will be for our Santa Rosa County candidates running for school board. So the first one is going to be: school boards have a fiduciary responsibility for fiscal issues. What are your qualifications for fulfilling your responsibility for financial oversight? So we can start with Mr. Laughlin first. So the question is, school boards have fiduciary responsibility for fiscal issues. What are your qualifications for fulfilling your responsibility for financial oversight?
Thank you. Financial oversight is, of course, half of the the school board's job. The other half are policies. And my qualifications for financial oversight are: I'm willing to ask hard questions. I'm certainly capable of doing the accounting math that's required. And we need to work to find places where we can save money so we can put it for the people that are in the classroom with our students. They are the people who, teachers, paraprofessionals, they are the folks who are working with the students, and that's why the school board and the school district exists. We need to support them in every way we can. I think that's it.
All right, good. Oh, that's good. Everyone's getting good on the timing. All right, next, Mr. Elliott. So same question. School boards have fiduciary responsibility for fiscal issues. What are your qualifications for fulfilling your responsibility for financial oversight?
The oversight, like Mr. Laughlin said, is that we have to trust other people that work above us, meaning that the work the day-to-day operations and fulfilling their jobs is telling us the main thing, keep the main thing the main thing. Is the one that's in the day-to-day operations in the schoolwork. It's just like we said, retention, make sure that your money's there at the end of the day. That you put your hard work, soul, mind, and body in that, you make sure you get your money. We got young kids out there graduating in high school, wanting this field to be our field, but we got them at 47.5. Now the sky's the limit of what they can do. And that's what we need to do, is saying, guys, we want to make sure your money's there. We want to depend on people that are above us and telling us exactly what we need to hear. And then we'll go from there, meaning that we're going to, as far as keeping the money as far as the pay, make sure the pay is there, make sure as they telling us what we can do with our time, we're telling you exactly what you need to do with your time as far as the money situation.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Huey, same question. School boards have fiduciary responsibility for fiscal issues. What are your qualifications for fulfilling your responsibility for financial oversight?
In the corporate world, I managed multi-million-dollar budgets. After 21 years, I retired and returned to community college administration, where I directed divisions using 2 state financial systems, South Carolina and Florida. Further, I earned my UWF Master's in the SBA in professional accounting. Since the school district is the #1 county employer, fiscal knowledge is key to navigating growth. FCR fluctuations, budget encumbrance, DOE projections and deductions, function trend analysis, and fund transfers are important. In addition, I have earned my CBM, which represents 96 hours of training from school finance to policy governance to school law. Only 20% of Florida school board members hold this distinction.
All right, thank you. All right, so our next question, we're gonna go back to the Escambia District 4 candidates. So our next question for you all, so again, then this group, they'll be asked the same question, then we'll move on to kind of a slightly different question for our District 5 candidates. So our next question to the school board members for Escambia District 4, how will you ensure that students have access to literature in traditional public school libraries that reflects and respects our multicultural society? So how will you ensure that students have access to literature in traditional public school libraries that reflects and respects our multicultural society? So I don't know if we want to go, is there anyone in the District 4 group that just wants to go first?
I'll take it.
All right, go ahead. We'll start with you and we'll kind of work our way and go in different order. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I love books. It's what brought me into this race to begin with. In fact, there was a board meeting over here that I brought some of my students from across the bridge to come speak at in order to sort of lend our, we'll call it expertise on a certain book. Basically, kids need to be reading. We have kids that aren't reading, and quite frankly, they're staying on their cell phones and they're looking at things. We're worried about what's on page 89 of some book. We shouldn't worry about that. We need to be worried that they can get to page 88 first. So we have got to get these kids reading. So the idea of locking up our libraries, yeah, there's some objectionable stuff in some books, and look at those as conversation starters as much as anything else. Now, do I think that we need 50 Shades of Grey in the 3rd grade? I do not. But I do think that we need to be able to read these books that are designed for kids and have these conversations. So that's sort of my stance. It's one of my big key points. And anything we can do to get kids reading, make kids more literate, readers become leaders, and I firmly believe that. Billionaires read books every week, and we should be teaching our kids to do the same thing. Thank you.
Would you like to go next, Mr.
Yeah, sure.
Olsen? Yeah, go ahead. So same question. So how will you ensure that students have access to literature in traditional public school libraries that reflects and respects our multicultural society?
My wife was a high school English teacher. She loved the classics. She read aloud to me. She read aloud to our children. One of the things we have to make sure we comply with the law. We have statutes that say what's authorized. We can't violate Florida statute when it comes to obscenity and pornography. And we need to make sure that the books are age appropriate and developmentally appropriate. Okay, once we get through that, I have no problem with children being exposed to a broad array of reading material. But my first board meeting, I was not allowed to read an excerpt from a book, which Senator Kennedy read from on the Senate floor, because I would have violated FCC regulations. It was obscene, it was pornographic, it had no place in a middle school or high school library. So we just need to make sure that the material is age appropriate and it's lawful to have in the libraries. And we should spend more time actually trying to make sure that we have the classics there for the kids to read.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Rinelli, you want to go next? So the question is, how will you ensure that students have access to literature in traditional public school libraries that reflects and respects our multicultural society?
It troubles me. Can you hear me okay? Without
I think the mics they're working, so you want they're
Is it up?
yeah. Just make sure it's on. Yeah.
There. It troubles me that literacy rates in Escambia County are lower than our neighboring counties here in Florida. There's something that they're doing right that we could be doing better. It troubles me that our literacy rates are lower than the state average. I would do 2 things very specific to improve literacy and bring more diverse and multicultural literature available to our children. First, I'd look to nonprofits such as Ready Kids and others throughout the country who are doing groundbreaking things when it comes to literacy programs. Second thing, and I'm a big proponent of doing these things in different ways, I create an advisory council made up of parents, teachers, and other leaders in this aspect to promote this throughout the district.
All right, Thank you. And then Ms. Bergosh, same question to you. How will you ensure that students have access to literature in traditional public school libraries that reflects and respects our multicultural society?
Reading is important, and we want children to read. Read, read, read. But we want to make sure that the books they are reading are, of course, meet state legislator, and also are age appropriate and appropriate for them to read. I encourage the children to look at the books and we can talk about what, the many aspects of the books. Just was mentioned earlier about, reaching out to our nonprofits, reaching out to our organizations in the community that can offer assistance as far as reading is fundamental, reading at the library. So that'd be one way I would start with that.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to go to our District 5 candidates for Escambia. So one of the first question, do we have someone who wants to go first this time? The question, well, I just want to see who wanted to go first. So the question is, what did you do to prepare to be a school board member? So what did you do to prepare to be a school board member? So Mr. Taylor, go ahead.
44 years in education. I taught everything from theater arts to advanced science. I was a very successful coach, like I said, in 4 different sports. I won championships in multiple schools. I've done food drives. I was a school social worker for the whole north end of Escambia County for a long time, making sure that children had food, clothing, shelter, and shoes. A child cannot learn if they're afraid, they cannot learn if they're hungry, and they cannot learn if they're not there. So I did my 44 years, thought about it, talked with the current superintendent a little bit, and talked to my family, and I said, you know what? There's a lot of changes that can be done to the Escambia County school system. I know where the skeletons are. I know what needs to be done. I know what needs to be improved. And I know these children deserve better than what they've been getting. I know that what worked 20 years ago is not going to work now, and we're going to make a difference.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Harrell, next question. So what did you do to prepare to be a school board member?
Many people do not realize this, but the school board has 2 primary functions. They set the budget, and then they take care of policy. And they only hire and fire 2 people, the board attorney and presently the superintendent. So training for those positions need to center around those things. First of all, I would say that all jobs center around 2 things. They center around you either work with people or you work with things. The school board is a people job. Education is a people job. So the first thing you have to have is the people skills to work with people, to listen to people, to return their phone calls and things like that. The second thing you need is a lot of experience with budgeting. I've handled $1 million budgets. I've done $1 million FTE counts. I've written $1 million grants and supervised those. That would cover the budget end. On the people end, I was a principal for many, many years in my 38-year career. And both of the schools, all 3 of the schools I had, were very successful, and it's because people trusted me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and then Mr. Luther, same question. What did you do to prepare to be a school board member?
Well, my whole life has been a preparation for this. I was born at a very young age. I'm serious. Thankfully, very close to my mother. I needed her. I was born to a mother and father who loved the Lord and taught me and my 9 siblings the Word of God. And that book is just awesome. Someone very well said, speaking about God's law, your law commands me to be blessed. And Psalm 119, where David goes through and just talks about how awesome God's law is. And I was very blessed by God to have parents who taught me God's law, who taught me how to read so I could read the Bible, so I could know and understand the world God made, and to know that stealing is wrong, even when you use the government to do it. And so I hope to stand for truth, for righteousness, and for the people of Escambia County.
Alrighty, thank you. All right, so we're gonna move over to our Santa Rosa candidates. So we can start with Ms. Huey this time since we started with Mr. Laughlin before. All right, so your question is, how will you engage the parents and the community to address their concern about school board decisions? How will you engage the parents and the community to address their concern about school board decisions?
In addition to volunteering in 5 schools, attending 26 graduations, community memberships, and supporting student choral, drama, band, art, competitions, and sports events, I've knocked on 6,213 doors listening to SRC families during my first term. One of my teachers calls it a boots on the ground approach. A good example is Central School. A group of mothers invited me to a meeting. They had a list of things that needed to happen. We worked with the superintendent to improve conditions. I applaud those mothers for their initiative. Then I was invited to a meeting of 50 parents about football. I listened and helped, but those 50 families got football at Central. I show up and stand up for students and teachers.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Elliott, same question. How will you engage the parents and the community to address their concern about school board decisions?
Well, being in Santa Rosa County, first of all, I told Mr. Laughlin, I feel like we're taking Escambia people's time here, and we're here on Escambia, Santa Rosa time, but being in Santa Rosa County all my life, I feel the engagement of parent, teacher, it's got a lot of things to do with. I've been serving Santa Rosa County all my life. I've been in the funeral business for 35 years, so serving people, I know what it's all about. And serving on the ball field, being an umpire, being in the classroom, being very active in our Pace Assembly of God Church there, and going in and out of our classrooms, seeing what the teachers was all about, seeing what they really wanted in their classrooms, and then taking it back to the dais and taking it back to where the rubber meets the road. And that's the reason why we ran 4 years ago and we won, is because I want to have it, you need a spokesman for you. As you tell us in the classroom, that we go back and make sure it is done at our school board on our meetings, to make sure your voice does count and it does matter. And to know that I haven't had a book full of knowledge, but I do have the day-to-day operations to let you know what needs to be done, and I take it back and make sure it gets done. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Laughlin, same question. How will you engage the parents and the community to address their concern about school board decisions?
Well, first of all, I am a parent. If I'm elected, I'll be the only school board member in Santa Rosa County that is a current parent. So I understand what parents want, understand the perspective of parents. And number 2, we can listen to parents and engage with their concerns when they come and speak to the school board and respond to what they say. All right, I want a little more time, thank you. Also, it's important to know the people and understand the people that you're elected to represent. While in Santa Rosa County, we represent the entire county, the whole county votes, unlike Escambia, there's a reason you're supposed to live in a geographic area, so that you understand the people around you and your community. I have coached ball teams, worked with kids at church, Bible class teacher, VBS coordinator. I've been involved in my children's life their entire life. And I think maybe the hardest thing I've had to do is mediate a rules meeting for Little League basketball. I was afraid we were going to come to blows there. No, understand, I am a parent. I understand what parents want, and I can hear their concerns. We need to listen and respond and make sure they know that we are listening and responding. And number 2, know the area that you're supposed to represent and understand what's important to it and the whole county. I'm the 4th Oscar Laughlin to be born in Santa Rosa County. My family's been there since before Florida was a state, and I understand and know and love Santa Rosa County.
Okay, thank you. Do you have to?
I do. I just
Yeah.
wanted to see if I could answer this.
Well, do you want to just make your 1-minute concluding statement, and then we're not going to ask you more questions, but you can address anything else you wanted to say to our voters. So he has to leave early for those of you that joined us a little bit late. Go ahead.
Again, I always try to honor my commitments, so I have to leave early to attend an event at ARC, so I apologize. But again, I do want to thank the league for you all for hosting this evening. Again, I'll contrast myself with that of the other people who are running for this race. They're great people, and I hope to call them friends moving forward. They're wonderful teachers and parents. I contrast myself for this race by being a business executive who will look at the many problems in our school district and take an approach that looks to better performing counties throughout the state. I will look to any better performing county, district, throughout the state or the country to find out, A, how to bring better opportunities to our children, how to support our teachers, and that means many things, how to engage our parents. As board chair of Parent University, I have some expertise in engaging parents, because I love when a politician will say, well, a school won't succeed because parents won't show up, and then 300 parents show up on a Saturday. And fourth, increasing safety. I will be hosting regular coffee and conversations now, throughout the campaign, and after I'm elected, so more to come. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We wish you could stay the whole time, but we understand. Candidates are busy. Can only imagine y'all's calendars, especially at this point in the, yes, thank you. All right, so we're gonna go back to our District 5 candidates. So we're gonna go back over to our Escambia District 5 candidates for the next question. So your question is, traditional public schools are losing some students to charter and private schools due to bullying. How can this issue be better addressed within our system? So traditional public schools are losing some students to charter and private schools due to bullying. How can this issue be better addressed within our system? So yeah, Mr. Taylor, looks like you want to go first.
I've had a plan for this for some time. I have a granddaughter who's a senior at Tate. She's been told, go cut your throat. She's been told, threatened. Very little happens when it's reported. Now, let me say this to you. I introduced this plan that if it were up to me, there's got to be a zero tolerance for bullying. And what I would do is when you commit any act of violence against any child, you no longer are staff member. You no longer go to school with those regular kids. You don't ride the bus with those regular kids. You go to school from 4 p.m. until 9 p.m. at night and all day on Saturday. And our in-school suspension teachers, you're going to be teaching those kids on Saturday, and they'll have an opportunity to earn their way back. Then they spend 9 weeks in that program, and we don't have to provide transportation for them. And if you do that, the word will get out that we're not going to tolerate bullying, and we're not going to put up with it, and children don't have to suffer from it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Luther, you want to go next? So the question is, traditional public schools are losing some kids to charter and private schools due to bullying. How can this issue be better addressed within our system?
Bullying is definitely a problem in our school, but so is discipline overall. Last year, we had 25% of our school population had referrals. We've got to turn that around. And here's some ways that I believe that we can do that, and I'm including bullying in that. We have to start, it's not approaching the issue when the referrals are written. We need to approach the issue up front in a more positive way. We need more positive programs up front that gives children a chance to demonstrate good behavior and learn good behavior in that way. A good example, bringing the community in with the Terrific Kids program from Kiwanis Club. We had that at RC Lipscomb, and every month we have an assembly teaching those kids good citizenship, how to interact with other children, how to get along, and so forth. Starting up front is where we need to begin with that, and that includes bullying. Bullying is one of those things that the principal can take care of in an individual school also. I know a principal who got on the closed circuit TV and said, there will be no more fights in this school or the resource officer will arrest you and so forth. We have to have a strong, firm hand right up front, and it has to come from our district leadership, and it has to come from our building principals.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Luther, same question. So traditional public schools are losing some kids to charter and private schools due to bullying. How can this issue be better addressed within our system?
It's interesting that it's very much connected. That bullying in the public schools and losing the kids to private schools. Well, why are the private schools better? Well, oftentimes it's because the children in those private schools are taught the fear of the Lord. Now, I know Christian schools can be notorious for, having nominal Christians who, yeah, I'm a Christian, but their lives don't live like it. But there is that Christian influence on them that restrains some of that evil. In the public schools, what do you have? You're a product of evolution. You got here because your ancestors fought to survive. So the best way to address this with the gospel. I don't think the government, it's not the government's job to do that. It's the family's job, individual's job, and the church's job to do that. But I definitely think we should not tolerate abuse from students to other students, because all people are made in the image of God and should be treated with respect and dignity. You don't get that with evolution.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on. We'll come back over to our Santa Rosa County candidates for our next question. So we'll start with Mr. Elliott, because I don't know that you've started yet, right? I think everyone else has taken a turn. I'm trying to keep it straight, but let me know if I don't. So the next question for you all is, how will you ensure transparency and accountability in the school board's decision-making process, particularly about contentious issues? So how will you ensure transparency and accountability in the school board's decision-making process, particularly about contentious issues?
We need to get it out to the parents and the teachers that really make the decisions. Once it gets to us, like it was said a few minutes ago, our as a school board member, we are making sure that the laws that from Tallahassee, that when we get them down to us, that they are enforced. Okay, and once we do that, then anything else from that perspective is that we got to make sure the parents, the teachers, and the guardians know exactly what's going on from day-to-day operations. Just like to say a while ago about the bullying. The bullying issue is that it's not up to the teacher to raise your children. It's up to the parent to raise your children. And they get dropped off at 7:30, 8 o'clock. We pick them up at that particular time. And then it's dropped over to us and thinking that the teachers have to put up with this. And school board members have got to support the teachers as well on the retentions and all that we talked about. We've got to make sure that everybody is informed on the same page of what we're doing.
Thank you. All right, so same question. So Mr. Loughlin, how will you ensure transparency and accountability in the school board's decision-making process, particularly about contentious issues?
Yes, ma'am. The first issue is to have actual meaningful discussion on the dais between the board members on these issues. Second, we can have 2 meetings a month to allow more time. And third, if in a functioning board, there's going to be some votes no, because there should be some disagreement about the issues. Discussion. The board members should make it clear how they feel about issues, what their thoughts are, and how they arrived at their decisions. That's what transparency is explaining yourself. Number 2, 2 meetings a month. Many of the meetings feel rushed, feel like we're trying to get through so that people can go home for the night. In Santa Rosa County, almost all the meetings begin in the evening at 5 or 6 o'clock. And number 3, no votes. There are very, very few no votes in the Santa Rosa County School Board. And that would be great if the board members discussed the issues and came to a consensus, but that's not what happens. Full of discussion, 2 meetings a month, and a functioning board will have no votes.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Huey, same question. How will you ensure transparency and accountability in the school board's decision-making process, particularly about contentious issues?
Negative press reflects poorly on school districts. When I was running for my first term, local headlines were filled with district policy issues, Gulf Breeze changing grades, impact fees lawsuit, coaches stipends, Munson Elementary. With financial transparency in the form of workshops, we have mitigated those headlines. I have always been in favor of monthly workshops so we have time to look at in-depth issues. That is what I would like to see improved. A good example is the 7.5-hour insurance meeting where we work to reduce health insurance rates for our educators. We now have quarterly reports and know much more about our health insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go back to the Escambia District 4 candidates. So your next question is, what programs or initiatives will you support to ensure that all students have equal opportunities to succeed? So what programs or initiatives will you support to ensure that all students have equal opportunities to succeed? Is there anyone, do we want to start with Ms. Burgosh? You want to go first?
There are wonderful programs in Escambia County. One of them that I can think of right now is Positive Behavior Support, PBS. This is a program where schools are children are taught positive behaviors, so then they can work with the schools and work with each other on incentives and provide incentives. This is one such program that I would like. Also another one, and I'm thinking of some of the discipline issues that we've discussed earlier. Our police have the Blazer Academy, and this is a program that's a community event, community partnership, and they work with our students and teach them fundamental ways of helping our children and interact with each other. Those are two things.
All right, thank you. All right, next, so same questions. What programs or initiatives will you support to ensure that all students have equal opportunities to succeed?
Okay, equal and opportunity. My dad says the fair comes exactly once a year. So we have to do more to help our most disadvantaged students. It's not optional. We absolutely have to do it. We've got at least 3 middle school or 3 elementary schools with under a 20% reading pass rate. Couple that against the highest one, which is 82% out at the Pensacola Beach. So we absolutely must do more with our lowest performing. In terms of an idea that is not currently being done, or if it is being done, it's being done very smallly, would be to take our highest performing students, and somebody mentioned this a second ago, but take our highest performing students, for example, National Honor Society, which is a club that I personally direct, and pair them with an at-risk student who needs a mentor, whether that's because of discipline, whether it's because of academics, whether that's because of math, what have you. That'd be an easy and free way to go about it. And I like these ideas of free. We can also pull in things such as local community leaders, bring in an attorney to talk to graduating seniors, for example, and there goes my time. Thanks.
All right. All right, and then our next candidate, same question. What programs or initiatives will you support to ensure that all students have equal opportunities to succeed?
We need to, we have a foundational breakdown. Some students are disadvantaged. They don't have a dad. They're living with aunties and grandmothers. And we need to pair them up with surrogates. We have a lot of guys here that have coached. I know Earl's coached. I've coached a lot. And you can't underestimate the impact that a good coach, even at the youth league, and at the high school level especially, can have in the life of a child. We need to bring in community mentors. There's a lot of people out there that would be willing. We got the military base. We've got a lot of people that have a lot to offer. And I personally, I'm with low-income kids once a week, okay? And we need to pair them up, and we need to aggressively go out and bring people in to help these kids, to stand a chance, even given their broken family situations. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, so then we'll go back to our Escambia District 5 candidates. So I'm gonna ask you, let's see, I'm trying to like not ask you all the same questions, but like similar enough to that we can get an idea of where you stand on certain issues, especially because some of our partners who helped co-sponsor tonight's forum also helped us draft some of these questions. So let's see, so we'll do this one, because I don't know, y'all didn't get to answer one that's similar. So we know this is sort of a hot topic right now. So how would you like to see the current issue over banned books resolved? So how would you like to see the current issue over banned books resolved?
I was the only candidate in District 5 that was invited to Governor DeSantis's book signing on how to deal with the books. When I get on the board, not only am I going to make sure that we don't have government-sponsored pornography, I want to know how it got there in the first place. I want to know who is accountable for bringing it in the first place. I want to make sure that my grandchildren aren't exposed to pornography. I want to make sure that the other children in this system are not exposed to pornography. And I want to make sure that it never gets back there again. But somebody has to be held accountable. How did it slip by in the first place? What are we doing to prevent it from going again? And why do we keep it out of our school system? Taxpayers should not be paying for pornography in any way, shape, or form.
All right, so same question. So how would you like to see the current issue over banned books resolved?
We currently have 1,076 books that have already been reviewed. We have 176 left to be reviewed, and there's 7 under federal court action at this time, if Pensacola News Journal is correct in their article the other day. I'm one of those that firmly believes that there should be no inappropriate books in our library. And what I mean by inappropriate books is those that have sexual connotations, that were meant for indoctrination, or those books that are not age appropriate for that particular grade level. We instead need to be concentrating on the basics, those things that provide math, language, reading, science, social studies, and civics by all matter. I'm one of those that also favors a matrix. Some school districts use a matrix in this system, but that matrix would have to have a substantial amount of community support in looking at that. I think these books got there because the reviews from the Library Association did not fully explain the content of some of these books. And so that's how they got there.
Oh,
and
time's
Mr.
up,
Taylor's
time's
right.
up, sorry.
They-
You have to wrap up your thought because we're gotta move on.
I was just going to say that those books that are there, we do need to make sure that they're not
All right, and then our next one, Mr. Luther, yeah. How would you like to see the current issue over banned books resolved?
Well, it's kind of been resolved and it's not an issue. Some terrible books got quote-unquote banned or removed from the schools. Now taxpayers don't have to pay to replace those books, and kids will be protected by those books, but we definitely have a lot of issues in our public schools, and they need to be secured. Children were created to be raised in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, and we need to protect them from destructive influences. There are agendas out there. As Rich Holzknecht has said, it's a battle between worldviews. There are people who want to accomplish certain things in society, and the Christian morals and Christian liberty stands in the way of that, and they're actively seeking to destroy morality, and in destroying morality, destroy our kids. The truth of the matter is, porn turns protectors into predators, and we need to fight against it.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll go back over to our Santa Rosa candidates. So a similar topic that the Escambia candidates have already addressed, but for you all, how should the students who bully other students be handled, since we're looking at different school districts? So how should the students who bully other students be handled? So Mr. Luckley, you want to go first?
Bullying is one of the biggest problems that I hear about when I talk to other parents and I know about students. It runs rampant, and it seems as if we are either unwilling or unable to address the issue. Many times there are not hard evidence. It's he said, she said. We have to have educators, people, maybe people in the hallway. I don't know, that are watching out for these things. Many times, it's done electronically, and so there is no one watching that. I've heard of people being bullied through the resources provided by the district and students. Number one, we have to set expectations. Number two, we have to hold people accountable. And number three, we have to have the courage to actually tell the parents, we're not going to put up with this from this child, and their behavior is going to have to change. That is what is important. Standing up for the students. Students have to be first. No one deserves to be bullied. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect.
Thank you. Ms. Hugh, you want to go next? So how should the students who bully other students be handled?
Santa Rosa's policy on bullying, because students learn by example, school administrators, faculty, staff, and volunteers will demonstrate appropriate behavior, treat others with civility and respect, and refuse to tolerate bullying or harassment. Preventing bullying starts at the top with leadership. At school board, we have a policy that states that all of our students and employees have an educational setting that is safe, secure, and free from harassment and bullying of any kind. Further, no person shall knowingly disrupt or interfere with the school board function. Our school board gets high marks throughout the community on how we handle school board meetings. We treat every person with respect and calmly listen because we know that the students are watching and they learn by example.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Elliott, same question. How should the students who bully other students be handled?
Like Ms. Huey said just a few minutes ago, bullying don't start at age 4 and shut off at age 18. Okay, meaning that they're bullied because they're taught that somewhere down the road. Even a teacher can be bullied by another teacher. They can feel like, and they see that through the day-to-day, even at home, on the playground, wherever it might be, coaches bullying other coaches, I can do it better than you, and all that. And like in Santa Rosa County, we have zero tolerance. Okay, we take care of the situation. I promise you, I was in the hallway just probably about 4 months ago, and I seen this student rear back, and he was in the 6th grade, and all this, and we just, floored this principal and laid her to the ground. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, it just didn't start that morning. Okay, guys, it started way earlier than that. So bullying starts at home, where you think you can be pushed against the wall, and then finally, and we got to get to a point that there's no tolerance. We get to the bottom line of it, and then take care of the situation.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go back to our Escambia County District 4 candidates. We're going to kind of change topics a little bit. So this one is always an interesting one, and the league has a long history on this issue. So should school superintendents be elected by the citizens or appointed by the school board, and explain why? So should school superintendents be elected by the citizens or appointed by the school board, and please explain why? Is there anyone else? We want to start at the end and work our way down.
I'm in favor of the direct election of the superintendent. I think that the closer you can get to the constituency, the better off you are. When you have the appointment of a superintendent, like we had here recently, you stand a chance of getting somebody that has absolutely no shared values with the constituency. When we had Tim Smith here, he was 180 degrees out of sync with the generally conservative members of the Western Florida Panhandle. So I'm in favor of direct election. And what was the, and why? Okay, yeah. Why? Because, again, when you directly elect somebody, you're going closer to the heart of the base and the local area. So I'm definitely in favor of direct election. We had a move to try to change that, and when you have an appointed superintendent, you could have outside, people can control the members of the school board and determine who they want in that position, and that may not go well for you, as we've already seen here in Escambia County.
Thank you. All right, we'll just keep moving back this way. All right, so same question. Should school superintendents be elected by the citizens or appointed by the school board? And please explain why.
Okay, well, I'm most likely going to disagree with most of the table up here, and I'm going to say they should be appointed. And the reason I think that is because school boards should be nonpartisan. That's going to come up in November as one of our Florida constitutional movements. I firmly believe it should remain nonpartisan because school itself is nonpartisan. As soon as it becomes partisan, you're taking, in our case, about, 1/3 of the people out of the decision-making process before it even begins. So we have to be able to listen to everybody. So we elect people to be on the school board to represent us, and then those people can collaborate. I do agree with the multiple meetings and things of that nature to make sure we make the absolute best decision. I would say further in terms of proof, the number of districts and places across the whole country that actually have appointed or elected school board superintendents is a very small number. So I would say absolutely keep it appointed and to further keep it a nonpartisan place to be.
That's right.
Mr. Rash, same question. Should school superintendents be elected by the citizens or appointed by the school board? And please explain why.
Well, I'm also a firm believer of appointment, because, you as constituents, you elect school board members. And it's our responsibility to ensure that we have a good superintendent that is not only there for, to work with our schools, to work with our teachers, our staff, our students, but also the community. But they are working through us. So I do agree with the appointment, and I think that our current superintendent, Keith Leonard, is doing a phenomenal job. And I know that our school board, I trust our school board to take care of that and monitoring him closely to ensure that he's doing the correct thing.
All right, thank you. All right, and then for our District 5 candidate, so next question for you all. So how will you build a relationship with our legislators to support legislation that benefits our students? So how will you build a relationship with our legislators to support legislation that benefits our students?
I have a very good relationship with our legislators. I've worked closely with Representative Michelle Saltzman. I've talked on the issues, I've gone to meetings with her where they referred educational questions to me, particularly dealing with bricks and mortar money versus salary money and how you separate those types of funds. We have got to do a better job of making sure that we get the money where it's needed, not where it's wanted. We've got to use our relationships with our legislative members. I know Senator Doug Broxson personally. I've worked with him on a number of occasions. I've actually gone to Tallahassee and spoke on educational issues. I've gone to Washington, D.C. and spoke on educational issues. We will do a better job. We're going to make sure that the funding goes where we really need it to be. We're going to move back to the basics and do that. One thing we've missed a lot of tonight is also for our extracurricular activities. We've got to do a better job with them also.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harold,
Maintaining a good relationship with the legislative members in Tallahassee is so important. I learned that as a principal. The school district has a lobbyist that they meet with that takes the issues from the school board to that, and I would be very active in that process. When I was a building principal, I also went to Tallahassee on several occasions to lobby the legislatures. There are so many ways that the legislature can help us. For instance, we're a very long district, and when you look at our fish reports, the Florida Inventory of Schoolhouses, and you look at in downtown, in the inner city area, we have vacant classrooms, but we're busting at the seams in District 5. So that would be something we could lobby our legislators about the PICO money and the other capital outlay money that we get. There's so many other things that we could do. That's just one example that I'm throwing out there. But it's very important to gain a good relationship, and I'm going to come back to that one word again, trust. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Luther, same question. How will you build a relationship with our legislators to support legislation that benefits our students?
I do not believe that we need more laws, more of man's laws. I think we're drowning in laws right now, and Man has been legislating their hardest and things are not getting better. I believe we need more of God's law and a whole lot less of man's law. Mr. Harrell talked about how some of the legislation is tying the school district's hands. And yeah, I believe in advocating for removing man's restrictions, because man is really bad at making laws because he's not omniscient. He doesn't know everything, and so he misses things when he tries to tell everyone else what to do. I believe God gave everyone a brain, and I believe they should have the freedom to use it as long as they are not harming others.
Thank you. All right, and then we'll come over to our Santa Rosa candidates. So your next question is, do you support schools which receive public tax dollars being held to uniform accountability standards? So do you support schools that receive public tax dollars being held to uniform accountability standards? I assume they would mean like private and charter schools. Well, that doesn't say that, but you want to go first? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, is that we all want them held to the standards. There is a lot of public school money that are being transferred to charter and private schools, and they are not required to have the same standards that we are required. It puts us at a great disadvantage. So my answer is yes, we want them to go under the same standards that we're under.
All right, next is Mr. Elliott. Same question. Do you support schools which receive public tax dollars being held to uniform accountability standards?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's an easy one. All right. All right, Mr. Laughlin, same question to you. Do you support schools which receive public tax dollars being held to uniform accountability standards?
I'm absolutely an advocate for educational choice. I think that we need to fund students' education, not the education system. If we're concerned about students being educated, then parents have a right to direct their education, as stated in Florida statute, and they should be able to take their educational dollars and educate their child how they see fit. If it takes $8,500 and we need more every year in the public schools, and parents can do it for less, they know their children, they know their needs, and they are their children, not our children. My children remain mine when they go to the public school every day, and I appreciate everything that happens at Jay High School, but they are my children still. So, in short, the answer is no. We need to fund students' education, not the county public school system, which is very important, and I appreciate very much, but that's not the point of why we're here.
Thank you. So I'm watching the time, and we're about 9 minutes before 6 o'clock, which was our agreed upon, like kind of, we're gonna wrap up questions, and then we'll have about a half hour or so of social time. We're gonna wrap up questions right now, and then so y'all can kind of collect your thoughts for your 1 minute concluding statement. And then that'll end the formal forum part of our program this evening. And then, like I said, we'll have a little bit of some social time. And then you can, if you want to ask a candidate a question directly, then you can do that during that time. They also brought literature over there on the table, so if you want to take any of their literature, palm cards, business cards, please make sure that you do that as well. All right, so we're going to start with, we'll start with the Escambia District 5 candidates for our 1 minute concluding statement. So we'll start with Mr. Luther at the end, and then we'll just kind of work our way down. So Mr. Luther, you go first for your 1 minute concluding statement.
All right, 1 minute is not a lot of time, so I want to repeat a little bit of my introduction, because it's very important. Individuals, families, and churches can take the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they can, by God's power, fix problems. But to do this, they need the time, money, and energy that the government is wasting in its futile attempt to fix things. The problem is our failure to submit to God's word, and the solution is repentance from sin and faith in Christ. There are problems, they need to be fixed, and they can be fixed, but the government can't do it. I believe that each and every one of you have the ability and intellect, God gave all of us brains and we need to use them, to use your money for good. If you are not Christian enough to love your neighbor, that is no concern of the government. As a school board member, I will work to do my part in keeping the government in its lane so that you have the freedom and resources to help your neighbor. To the glory of God, amen.
Thank you. Mr. Harrell, you want to go next? Your 1 minute concluding statement.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for inviting me here this evening and for putting on this forum, the League of Women Voters and all of its sponsors. These are great events, and it's an opportunity for you to get to know the candidates. Again, I'm Tom Harrell. I'm a proven educational leader with 38 years experience. I've managed large budgets, large number of people. I've had as many as 165 people to supervise. I love the Escambia County School District. It's a great place for boys and girls to grow and learn. It's a place where you're a professional family when you're part of it. We have a tremendous staff who is very adaptive at doing the right things for boys and girls. Do we have some challenges? Certainly we do. And I have some things that I would like to see a board member work on. We've got to improve the academic gap, improve our academic. We've got to improve our attendance. We've got to work on this discipline. But in order to do that, we have to be a team. We have to be a team, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to trust each other. So I ask that you trust me and vote for me for School Board Member District 5, okay? Thank you. You have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Taylor, your 1 minute concluding statement.
I'm Jim Taylor. I have 44 years of education. I've told you 5 teaching certificates. All my stuff is current. I know that we can move this school system into one of the top 10 school systems in the state. I had the good fortune to work with Don Gates when he turned the Okaloosa County school system around, to visit with him and listen to some of the things he did. We want to do those in Escambia County. We don't want to be 57th. We want to be in the top 10. And not only are we going to have to improve in academics, we're going to have to improve in vocational training. We're going to have to do more things for the kids that aren't going to go to college so they can be productive citizens. We have got to work harder out there to make our extracurriculars better. How long has it been in Escambia County since one of our teams won a state championship in football, baseball, or basketball? It's been a long time. We know that winning programs turn schools around, turn communities around. We have got to turn this school system around, and if you vote for Jim Taylor, District 5, we will turn it around.
All right, thank you. And then we'll go to our District 4 candidates for Escambia. You want to start at that one end of the table and then work your way down for your 1 minute concluding statement.
We need to get back to basics. There's no room for indoctrination. We need to educate our kids and get back to basics. We need to make sure that they leave and they can read and they can write and they can think and they can problem solve and they know about true history without revision, and they know how to affect change through constitutional citizenship. Okay, that's a big plate. That's a lot of things that we have to pass on to these kids so that they can be productive citizens, whether they go to college or they go right into the workforce. I'm a people guy. I was the U.S. Naval Attaché in Israel for 4 years, and I was elected to represent 120 countries to the Ministry of Defense and the Chief of General Staff in Israel, because I can work with people to get things done. We need good teachers. I have no idea what political affiliation my teachers had when all 4 of my kids went K through 12 through Escambia schools. I had no idea, but I worked together with them, and I love them, and as a single father, I couldn't have done it without them. So this is about working together to turn this ship around, because going from 5 to 57 is a trend in the wrong direction. We need to fix it.
Thank you. So we'll just keep moving down. Next for the District 4 candidates for Escambia, concluding statement.
Okay, 1 minute is not much. All right, so one of the problems here is that school is not a business, nor is it just data points, it's relationships. And we have to meld those things together. One thing I haven't heard talked about tonight, nor will I do much on it, is rigor. But I will say this, the fundamental thing about schools is they must be safe. That means we protect not only the WASP students, but the most marginalized, and we give them a safe place without any bullying. To me, that means no cell phones. But it also means access to books and things that they can have where it's much safer to read about it and then discuss it than it is to, heaven help us, have it happen to them. There's nothing that happens in these books that hasn't happened to a child somewhere, most likely in our county. We have trafficking issues, there's so many issues. And the solutions I think involve students, I think they involve parents, the community, the military base, and all of us working together. If you remember Pandora's box, the one thing that was left was hope. Never ever let go of hope. Thanks, guys.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you again for this opportunity to come out. My name is Caressa Burgosh, and I have over 3 decades of experience working as a teacher, a guidance counselor, a PTA mom, a director of a mentoring program, and yes, a member of the school board. The Governor Bush appointed me when there was emergency vacancy on the board, so I do have the experience on this. But I do want to see the most important issue that I see that I talk to teachers about is discipline. So we want to ensure that our children and our teachers have a safe, disciplined environment so then they can do as best they can. And we ask that, just like Governor Bush trusted and chose me for the board, I'm asking you to trust and choose Caressa Burgosh for the school board. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Loughlin, go ahead, your 1 minute concluding statement.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Again, there are 4 reasons I'm doing this, and those are my 4 daughters that are students in the Santa Rosa County Public Schools. My perspective is that of a parent, not part of the educational system. But I love Santa Rosa County, I appreciate and love our school system, and I love the people at my children's school. I'm not a professional politician, I've never been involved in any kind of politics. But I know this, we've got to figure out how to stand firm and hold fast to our values, our conservative values in Santa Rosa County. We've got to draw a line in the sand. We know that's not what the federal government wants from their Department of Education. My daughters will never share the bathroom or the locker room with boys, if I have anything to say about it. Transparency, 7.5-hour meeting was the one time we had discussion of the issues. And I'm glad if we meet twice, that'll happen more often, and it won't take 7.5 hours. Teachers supported in money and discipline. I'm doing this because I love Santa Rosa County and I love my children. Please vote for Oscar Loughlin.
Thank you. Mr. Elliott, your 1 minute concluding statement.
First of all, I had to say with Mr. Loughlin just a few minutes ago that this picture here is not my children. I take that back. There's 2 of them that belong to me. It's a son and a daughter. And I always try to figure out how I could have had them other ones in there because I threw their kids back. And that was grandchildren. I fight for these grandchildren. Like Mr. Loughlin said, he was the only board member that had children on the school board. I have 1 child, one daughter and 1 son, and they have got us 6 grandbabies. 1 granddaughter graduated, she's got 2 years in South Alabama. I got 1 in 11th grade in Pace, another one in 10th grade, another one in 4th grade, and 2 is twins. So I am fighting for not only my children, but your children. And 4 years ago, this card says honesty, integrity, and common sense. That's what I bring to the board. I want to be honest. I want to tell the truth. And I guarantee you I'll have integrity when I lay my head down on the pillow at night. And I promise you, I will treat it with common sense. If it matters to you, it matters to us. And that's what we're going to fight for you. And I promise you, I'm looking for 4 more years for school board, Santa Rosa County. And God bless you is my prayer.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Huey, our final 1 minute concluding statement.
I have 28,467 children in Santa Rosa County, and I claim every one of them. A parent said it best, Elizabeth, you are a perfect public servant. It is obvious that you are in this for the students and not for yourself. Remember, Huey leads by example, focusing on students, academics, and listening to families. Huey has perfect board attendance, top state awards, and volunteers in her schools. Huey's advanced financial credentials lead fiscal transparency. Huey's successful career is on both sides of the desk. Huey is endorsed by Santa Rosa professional educators for the second term. Teachers are the gold standard. Re-elect Huey for students. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's just give one more round of applause for all of our candidates for coming out.